An example of the threat to religious freedom that the redefinition of marriage has created has been front and center in the state of New York, where the state attempted to shut down a faith-based adoption provider. Well, in this case, some good news. A federal district court issued an order just today to permanently prevent the state of New York from targeting this agency simply because of its religious beliefs. This is what the adoption agency wanted to do: place children with married moms and dads based upon what the Bible teaches. The New York State Office of Children and Family Services had singled out New Hope Family Services for its policy. The nonprofit agency was consistently praised by the state for its stellar performance, but it was given the ultimatum of changing its policies or being shut down. Joining me now to discuss this is Jake Warner, Senior Counsel for Alliance Defending Freedom, which represented New Hope Family Services in this case. Jake, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thanks for having me on the show today.
Hey, congratulations on yet another victory. Walk us through any of the details that I missed in this case.
Well, it's a big win today in court for New Hope Family Services. They are a religious adoption provider, and they've been around since 1965. They've given over 1,000 kids a loving home. And a few years ago, they were targeted by the state of New York over their policy to place children in the homes of loving moms and dads and to refer others out when they were asked to do otherwise. And for exercising their faith this way, the state of New York tried to punish them. They tried to shut them down, eliminating their ability to provide loving homes for kids.
Now, a couple of, I think, very important points to make in this with New Hope is the fact that they were a private religious organization that did not receive any government money. They were all supported. They were supported solely by donations and a fee that adoptive parents would pay to them. So what was the justification of the state coming in to shut them down?
Well, the state disagreed with their religious beliefs. Shortly after New Hope received this letter telling them that they had to either shut down or abandon their beliefs, many of the approved religious adoption centers in the state of New York disappeared from the state's websites of approved providers. So what this shows is that the state was targeting religious providers like New Hope Family Services. So in response to this religious targeting, ADF filed a lawsuit on behalf of New Hope Family Services, and thankfully today the court ruled that the state couldn't target New Hope Family Services this way or compel their speech, compel them to affirm a view of marriage or of what's best for the family that's inconsistent with their faith.
So, Jake, what implications will this have for other faith-based organizations operating in the state of New York?
Well, this decision should give hope to any religious adoption provider in New York that they should be allowed to live and work, place children consistently with their religious beliefs without being targeted or punished by the government. And this builds on a case that the U.S. Supreme Court recently decided in Philadelphia. You might remember the Fulton case, where the U.S. Supreme Court said that the city of Philadelphia couldn't interfere with the religious decisions of an adoption provider in that case. So we hope that this decision, this permanent injunction stopping New York from targeting religious adoption providers, will give other adoption providers in the state good hope that their constitutional rights will not be infringed.
So Jake, is this kind of the new norm for Christian organizations that we're talking right now of adoption, but it could be another service that they provide, but simply because they hold to biblical views of human sexuality and marriage, they're being targeted not by left-wing organizations. We expect that. But this is coming from their own government that in many cases benefit from the benevolent services that these organizations provide.
Yeah, increasingly, we're seeing states misuse their public accommodation laws to target religious organizations and even businesses. You probably know about the cases of cake artist Jack Phillips. And then ADF also has another case before the U.S. Supreme Court right now, 303 Creative, involving a website designer. In those cases, the state of Colorado were threatening artists with punishment if they wanted to live consistently with their faith, if they wanted to create artwork consistently with their religious beliefs about marriage and gender. So what we've seen across the country, not just in New York and not just in Colorado, is government officials and activists increasingly misusing the law to target people they disagree with. But the First Amendment protects against this kind of overreach. It protects the expressive and religious decisions of these organizations.
Now, in many cases, they win, but it's very costly, time-consuming, emotionally draining to have to go through all of this to see your day in court. And of course, Jack Phillips, every time he wins, he's drugged back into the court. So there's clearly collusion on the side of the left with many allies in government to do this. But let me ask you this question, Jake. Do you expect to see more of these type cases if the Congress were to codify the Supreme Court redefinition of marriage from Obergefell into federal statute?
I think we could see governments using such laws to target Christian business owners, not only in states like Colorado and New York, but all around the country at that point. But thankfully, courts are starting to recognize that this kind of interference is unconstitutional. It violates the First Amendment. They can't do that. So no matter what happens in Congress, I think we have reason to hope that the courts are going to protect the religious freedom of businesses and organizations around the country.
Well, we're certainly grateful for the tremendous work that Alliance Defending Freedom does, along with many of our other allies in the public sphere of legal protection. So, Jake, I want to thank you for joining us today, and congratulations on this victory.
Thanks again, and thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Always glad to have you.